is Anna. I am the owner and also the Chief Creative Director of Spellbound Group Private Limited. We focuses more on events and also wedding planning, but primarily our business is mainly weddings. I've been doing this for about 18 years and every year is just very interesting. Sometimes people say, aren't weddings the same, all weddings are basically the same. But actually every wedding is very different. So usually for Spellbound, how we approach it is that when a bride comes to us, or in general, we always say that know what you want. Because there are many different areas that you can look into. So usually for brides, the first thing I always tell them is that after you have the proposal, is both of you have to sit down and you have to discuss, because usually the next thing is basically when do you get married, the ROM. So in a wedding, there's two different aspects, the main one. So one is the ROM, which is the solemnization. And then the other one is like a wedding reception, like a dinner or a lunch, where you celebrate your nuptials with your friends and family and so forth. We do have couples that, congratulations, you are engaged, and then they come to us with nothing in mind. But the main thing always is that even when they come with us and have no venue and so forth, they need to have a date. So a date is very important to us. Because we only do like one wedding per se. Then the second thing I will always ask them, because they will probably come to us for help in venue sourcing. So the number two thing is usually the number of guests that they have to have. So you need to sit down and really think, who do you want to invite? This is where parents come in as well. So some weddings that we do is like 2,000 people. So obviously, usually it's not the couple that has 2,000 friends, although that would be nice. But usually it's because of the parents, maybe the business associates and so forth. So usually I would tell the couple, or I would advise the couple that you need to check with your parents. So if let's say the parents say, it's up to you, we are very okay with anything, then that's good, then you decide. So you would have an idea already of what kind of environment you would like to have. Do you want an intimate one or do you want a grand one? Then that will be the shortlisting of the venue. So I think those are the first steps. So because venue and all that really determine the next step. For example, like the photographer, the videographer, all the other vendors. Then you go and look at the venue and so forth. Once you find and secure the venue is usually when you can secure the vendors. So like the photographer, the videographer, the stylist, the planners, for example, Sometimes my bride or my groom or even the family will say, but Anna, how much do we budget out of it? And I always say, because budget is always the main concern, I will always say that there's no fixed budget or there's no estimation of budget because it's very individual. I would say for example, a wedding gown. I have brides that spend less than 1,000 on a very beautiful wedding gown. I have brides that spend 20,000 on a very nice gown. So, hence there is no fixed thing. I always say that give us a budget that you're comfortable with. And of course, if the budget is too low, then I would be able to tell you what you need to compromise on. If the budget is like a lot, then of course that's not an issue. Then usually my role as a planner is to tell you, to advise you. Maybe there are certain aspects of things that you need to let go. Maybe it's really not so important to do a chocolate fondue station, So that is a role of a planner. So then from there, we can plan for them. Sometimes they have no idea of a budget, then we will advise them. I will probably ask them what kind of gowns you like. Maybe they will say that, we like, for example, Galia gown. Then obviously, if you thought that maybe a Galia gown is like $3,000, then it is very unlikely. So that's where I steer them to the right path. And I tell them, hey, if you want Galia, you probably have to spend like 10K, to give you an idea. So then maybe they say, that's not within our budget. Then perhaps instead of Galia, maybe you can try something else. Maybe another designer that, the format is a lot like Galia, but it's not Galia. And then it will cost you maybe 3,000-4,000. It's as lovely as it is. It's just like venue as well. So let's say, for example, I'll ask them for the type of cuisine they want. Do you want to have family style or individually plated? So sometimes the couple, they are not familiar. They may say that, family style is good, and that's why we always attend. But then I'll ask them what kind of service would you expect? Are you very particular about the food presentation? then maybe they say, yes, we're very particular about food presentation, and maybe we are the first one to get married in the family and everyone is looking forward to it, and they want to make it very stylish, very nice. Then perhaps I'll say maybe family style is not the way to go, because it may look nice when they present it, but then when it's served, it may not be so nice because you need to plate it properly. So then I would say maybe individually plated is maybe a better choice, but usually individually plated is more expensive than family style. And on the other hand, maybe your family is very, very traditional. Then individually plated may not be good for all courses, because in Chinese we have you tou you wei. So perhaps what we could do is that we can talk to the hotel. We can say, well, maybe the fish and the chicken, it can be a whole fish, a whole chicken, and then you plate it on the side. But the rest can be individually plated. So all these things as a planner, I will discuss with the couple, and I will talk to them. And sometimes the parents would come, if it's the first child to get married and so forth, and they're relatively young. Sometimes the parents will come, and I'll talk to the parents, because sometimes maybe the children don't know what to ask the parents. Then I will just talk to them, and then I will advise them. So I think that is really the role of a planner, to guide and to advise and to lend a shoulder as well sometimes. I guess the more general challenges that we'll find is maybe sometimes the couple may want to have something which is different from the parents. And and then how do you meet halfway? So what I always tell my couples is that, without the parents I always tell them, look, for us, we can always follow whatever you want to say, but you must remember that after your wedding, that's it for me, But you have to live the rest of your life with them. Doesn't mean that you have to listen to everything that your parents or relatives say, but maybe sometimes you have to consider that. So I think that, and sometimes the budget as well. Like sometimes the couple, they may want something like really very nice and can be like Instagrammable and all that. For Spellbound, I always say, spend within your means. And instead of like doing the entire place like so gorgeous and so forth, maybe just choose focal point, smaller area that you can make it your own, and you don't have to spend so much money. So for me, I always say that spend within your means, achieve your dream wedding, but don't overspend, because money is always the stress. That's why for us, even before a couple hire us, I always would tell them how much it costs already, so that closer to your wedding, you don't feel stressed like, oh, I really want this, but the cost and everything. I'll tell them don't. So usually for Spellbound, our clients, the whole journey is very nice, because they already know, and they know that the choices that they can make. I always tell my clients and couples to be, because obviously they very rare that they come to you and they just want to confirm you. It happens, but quite rare. And we are aware that they always would go and meet a few planners. And in fact, I always tell them, look for other planners as well. Talk to them. So you need to find a planner that's obviously, number one, very calm, but number two, you have to trust. Because that's why you hire us, not just to coordinate, but also to plan your wedding. So we know what is good and what may not be so good for you. Experience is something that is also, I think is also quite important, but it doesn't mean that if a planner that is not so experienced is not good. Because a planner could be not very experienced, but is very earnest and really want to do good for the couple. Then that is also very good planners. And I think it also depends on the scale of your wedding. So if you have a wedding for 2,000, 3,000 people, obviously find a planner that has experience, that has at least maybe 5-6 years experience, and that does weddings continuously, not part-time or freelance. But if let's say you have a small wedding, maybe let's say 100 people or 200 people, then you can find relatively, maybe planners with maybe 2-3 years experience. That might be okay, but it also depends very much on the guest list as well. So obviously, if you have guests that need special attention and so forth, then you need maybe more experienced planners. But at the end of the day, right, in 18 years, I feel that ultimately the couple, they always come to me is they want their wedding to be memorable. Sometimes they say that, why would we need a planner? Our friends can help, our JMA and so forth can help. That is true. However, it is a day where you want everyone to be happy. You want your bridesmaids, groomsmen to also enjoy the day. And time passes so fast, they don't realize. Again, if it's a simple wedding, then it's okay. But simple wedding is also relative. Even setting up a table, a reception table, if you have like some things that you want to do, it is not so simple. And I always say setup is one thing. How about clearing up? After the whole day from like 7 a.m. you get crashed and then you want your friends to help you to do let's say a photo table album. They are so tired because at the end they still have to pack. Yeah, so all these things. A lot of times people say, whoa, Anna, we just want a coordinator on that day just to make sure A to B, works. Spellbound, we don't really do that because I love weddings. I mean, my whole team loves weddings. And we sometimes cannot sleep before the wedding because couples say, but Anna, sometimes they don't believe that we care about them so much. But I always tell them, at the end of the day, I feel a sense of responsibility, my whole team, because you rely on us. So anything go wrong, we feel the weight of it. And for a wedding, it's very different from corporate events. Like I say, we do corporate events as well, but a wedding is personal. There is nothing that can redo the whole thing, Like corporate, if you do D&D, next year you can do it again. But this is your one time. And when you walk down the aisle, that is the only time, we hope, that you walk down the aisle. You cannot like go back and then walk again. You can't. So to me, it really matters. And that's why our team is very dedicated to it. And we only do one wedding planning a day.